The birthday gift chapter is almost entirely about story. Its only real gameplay function is to give you a swimming tutorial. However, there is one thing that you should know about this chapter in order to avoid a dumb permadeath. And that is how you jump off of this balcony right here. The way that you should do it is simply by running forward and doing an ordinary jump. Let Ellie do a cannonball. This is completely safe, as long, of course, as you surface and don't drown. However, if you simply walk slowly off the edge, there's a really good chance that Ellie will have a fall death. Watch this. So this is what you have to watch out for. Notice what I did was I essentially just barely walked off the edge. It's not inevitable that that will happen. So I'm not running, I'm not jumping here. I'm just walking off. And this time we survived. So it's not inevitable that you will die here. However, there's a reasonably good chance you shouldn't risk it. Do a running jump off here, and that should be completely safe. We're here at the start of Hillcrest chapter, and although the theater may seem like a completely useless section, I do want to point out one thing. There's a peculiarity of Grounded, which means that there are a few items that don't appear at the end of day one when you get to the theater, but are here the next day. And this seems only to be the case for Grounded. On lower difficulties, these resources actually appear when you first get there in the theater. So it's some weird bug here. So you have these blades. You'll see some pills here, but these are pills that you probably picked up the previous evening. The reason they're here is I loaded up a save file. And then there's also, if you go over here, some binding. So those three things do not appear in the evening of day one. Everything else that's in the theater is there. Those you need to wait for the morning of day two after the birthday gift chapter in order to pick up. Once you hit triangle, we enter a cutscene, and your temptation is going to be to skip it immediately. However, if you do that, you will have a very, very long load screen. So what I like to do is listen to Dina vomit a few times, and once you get roughly to this dialogue, now if we skip the cinematic, it should go right to the next scene without that long loading screen. And the same thing applies for this cutscene. If we just let it play for a few seconds, it will speed up going to the next area quite a bit. Now we're in Hillcrest proper, and there's a bit of looting to do before we get to the first encounter. The main thing I want to talk about in this area is what kind of plan you want for yourself in terms of an upgrade path. Now you'll notice that we are very full on resources for what we've done so far. We're full on a lot of things. We also have some pills. We have some decisions to make about what kind of paths you want to take here. And there's a couple of different ways you can go. Crafting a smoke bomb can be very useful in certain places. However, the biggest advantage of it isn't until later. And improved silencers, well, unless you're trying to do kill all, you're probably not going to be using your pistol for much of anything. Maybe one or two shots here and there. You probably don't need improved silencers. It's 60 pills. It's a lot of resources. I also don't recommend you actually take anything in this. All of this stuff, aim stability, faster aim movement, hold breath, it's just not worth your pills. Most of the stuff that I like to use is in the magazine we haven't picked up yet. However, whether or not you're going to craft smoke bombs eventually, you are going to want at least one stun bomb And I'm going to craft a trap mine to demonstrate something later on. So I'm just going to craft one of each of those so that we have some space in our inventory to pick up more things. And just a reminder, if you want to consider alternative paths where you have different possibilities in terms of what upgrades you go down in terms of your skills and what you actually want to pick up, my spreadsheet, for which I will put a link in the description below, does allow you to make that kind of planning. There is a rag in here. And there's also more rag here. That will probably bring us all the way back to being full on it. Yep, we still need some alcohol, but we're mostly full. You can see there's a workbench here, but there's really nothing in the weapons upgrades that I particularly care about at the moment, so we're just going to skip it. So we're here right before we drop down into the first encounter in day 2. That is what is colloquially called Hillcrest Red Door. There are a number of ways that you can get through this, and I'm going to show you a stealth strat and a speedrun strat. I do not recommend that you kill everybody here. There really isn't enough loot to make it worthwhile. Also, if you go loud in this section, this is an area where extra enemies spawn, and how many enemies spawn varies depending on where you get the alert. If you don't spawn in any additional enemies, there will be 4 humans and 2 dogs in this area. If you alert within the first building that you drop into, which is a bank, you will spawn in 2 human enemies and then also 1 extra dog and dog handler pair. So you have 3 humans, 1 extra dog. If you don't alert until you get outside of the bank, then you only get 2 additional human enemies. However, your goal should be not to alert at all. Your goal should be to get through here in complete stealth. Even in stealth, you can pick up most of the loot that is here. So I'm going to initially demonstrate to you how to do a stealth run through, which is a little bit on the slower side, and then we'll do a speed run through. In both cases, we're not going to be alerting any enemies. There is a rifle ammo here. We can pick it up. It's not necessary, and you might find that it slows you down. Now here I go prone because there is a small chance that she's going to turn and look. Once we're about here, we can get up to trot. We go back in through here. We can pick up that canister. We're going to go in through this building, and we're going to wait behind here until we see where people are. You can see the dog is just coming past. We don't want to go outside until the dog is past. Once it's past, we can head outside. And now we're going to wait here until they go around the corner. The dog tends to do this weird thing. You'll see the leash glitches through the brick wall, but the dog comes around towards us, so we have to wait until he goes around, and then again stay behind the wall until they leave. And once they have left, we're basically clear to go. If you need some alcohol, there's some alcohol here. Definitely take a look there. That woman can spin sometimes. Once you're sure she's not looking, you should be clear to go through here. This door is a very long door. In fact, it is the longest door in the entire game. So you need to be careful about making sure that you're not spotted there. If the sneak strat is too slow for you, and if you don't care about the loot that I showed you how to pick up along the way, then it is possible just to run through this area directly. If you're looking at older YouTube videos, this is another case where there is an older strat that people developed working on the PS4, which works fine on the PS4, but doesn't work reliably on the PS5. The PS4 strat involves going to the right, similar to the way you saw me start the sneak strat, but then you run past a particular point. The PS5 strat, which also should work on the PS4, involves going left. And so since it works on both, this is what I'm going to demonstrate.
This is dumb. We should be pushing in.
We hold the perimeter until we hear otherwise. Keep an eye out in case he comes this way.
I got something. Shit. Let's get in there.
As soon as we get control, we're going to the left, not to the right. We're staying crouched until we get through the door, and then we can stand up and trot to the wall, and then we can start running. Don't run in the middle of the room because you'll get noticed. And then we want to hit prone dive before we get to that tree. And we jump across. Now, once we get to let's find him, go back home, we can start to run out. You can grab that and we can go. Now, I did that slightly slower than speedrunners do it in order to stay a little bit safe. Going right to pick up that alcohol does add an extra second or so to your time, but it is a little bit safer because if you are not very precise in your timing and movement and you run straight to the door after the point where I started running, the dog handler who's closest to the door can hear you. Now, when you are here, there are a couple of different ways you can go. We have the liquor store. It has a basement with 2 Shamblers in it. And the exit route takes you past one other Shambler and a runner. There's also a garage back here, which has some nice loot in it. If you go into the liquor store basement with those Shamblers, there will be 2 additional runners once you leave that area that show up on this street here. So I don't recommend you do that. If you go into this garage first, those 2 runners won't spawn. There's a bunch of different runners stuck here. We're going to use a molly to get most of them. Just toss the molly in there. And it should kill everyone but one. You'll see one survived. That's because she's kind of far away when we threw it. I'm simply hopping over the fence here just to kill some time. I want to wait until the flame goes out on her, and now we can just take care of her this way. I'm not grabbing her just so that I don't get any damage from the flame. So with that one molly, that will take care of everybody else. We were full on both alcohol and rags, so we can now replace that molly and we can start picking up more rags and alcohol. And as you can see, we have the shotgun holster here. If you had gone into Barco's before you got the shotgun and picked up the shotgun holster earlier, this would be the long gun holster. When we drop down in here, our main target is simply to get all the loot here. You do not need to kill the Shamblers. So we're going to just drop down in here and grab these. Your light, if you have it on, will turn off on you when you get here, but there's plenty of light here. So we're going to throw a bottle here to distract. And that will bring the Shambler that is in the bathroom here out. See, I'm just waiting for him to go out. And then we can sneak in here, grab those pills, and be on our way out. That is almost all the loot in this area. If you've taken any damage in the earlier area, you can heal, but we didn't, so we're good. And this will also give us the final magazine here. In this area, there is some reasonably nice loot in this locked room here. That door is locked. So we can get in by breaking the window. This will alert both the runner and the Shambler. And one thing you should be aware of is that sometimes they do actually come into this room. So what I like to do is break the window and then come back out here and hide and just wait for both of these to de-aggro. They're never going to check behind this counter. In this case, neither of them went into the back room, but often the Shambler will jump in. That's why I come out here. Once they're gone, we can go back in this room and we can get the loot here. In particular, there's a bunch of pills right over here. 16, nice to pick up. As far as this area goes, again, we don't particularly need to... Okay, the Shambler heard me. We can just run through here. Just dodge that runner. Don't let him block you in the door. Once you get out of this door, you're completely safe. They won't follow you out of this door. So just run through here however you can, and you're good. So there is an arrow here. You don't actually need to pick this up. Even if you don't pick it up, you'll still wind up with 2 arrows once you get the bow.
Whoa. What was that?
Here, there are 3 runners in this area. We're, again, not going to bother to kill them. You can absolutely just run through. You do sort of want to watch out that you don't get slapped by anybody. So if we just run right at the very end, that's usually a decent way. They pursue different paths. They don't always go in exactly the same way. So you just have to kind of look to see where they're going. You can just try running straight through. Usually it's not a problem. You might get slapped occasionally if you're careless, but not particularly a big deal. You can kill Boris with pretty much any weapon. However, the shotgun weapons in particular require a headshot to kill him quickly, which you may or may not be able to hit depending on how good you are at that. Easiest is just to equip the shotgun. We go through, and once we get control, Boris is gone. That's the easiest way, especially if you're full on ammo. I wouldn't mess around with anything else.
Yeah, this'll do.
Let's suppose you don't have any ammo and you really want to kill Boris purely with melee. You're not going to do anything else. So Boris likes to do 6 swings in a row. And then... Three, 4, 5, 6. And then we can get in a couple of shots. Other stalkers don't do that degree of swinging. That 6 swings from Boris is actually unusual. So if you want to do this without using any ammo, you have to get good at dodges. Once we open this garage door, we're going to get a little bow tutorial. And if you so choose, you can use this to get as many arrows as you want.
That's one way to use mannequins.
So the trick to this is don't fully draw the bow. If you draw the bow all the way, it will stop, which we'll do there. And it will let you move. So this can let us fill up to a maximum of 6. That arrow dupe glitch isn't, however, necessary. I do not use it on my runs. So I just do one shot the normal way. That's the way it's intended to be done. You'll see we still have 2 arrows, which is what we started with. We have 3 tapes, so you could make another arrow if you wanted at this point. What I find is that in the early game here, I'm not really using arrows all that much, and so it is not at all necessary. Now, in this next area, we're going to hop into Hillcrest Houses, and this is an area that has a lot of people in it. There are, in fact, in the first part of Hillcrest Houses, there are 12 humans and 4 dogs, assuming that you don't alert anybody. If you alert, another 3 humans will spawn in. So this is an area that I highly recommend you do not try to go loud in. That becomes very difficult. Instead, you should simply sneak through. So this is the way to do that. We hop over the fence.
Hey, dog's picked up something down the hill. I think he's
As soon as we get control, we go to the right,
Up here. Just blew up one of our fucking trucks.
go prone across this low spot,
Sure. Everybody spread
back
out.
to
We got
crouch.
multiples.
Climb in the window. We can grab that and head down the stairs. Not running, just trotting. Grab that alcohol. Go back into a crouch once we get up. Now we're crossing here on the left side because we don't want the woman in this house to our left to spot us. Up onto the porch. And we're going to go prone just to quickly check to make sure that we're not too early. You can see this guy is turning away from us. If you prone dive or go faster, that guy will still be facing you. Straight out the window, and we start to crawl. Now, I want to pause here and go into photo mode because I want to show you this woman, you can see, is about to turn around and come back our way. As long as we do what I'm about to do relatively quickly, she won't be an issue. However, we can't wait because she's going to be walking back towards us and she would absolutely see us if we decided to wait. There's also going to be a woman who's going to be hopping out of the window up above us and patrolling on this roof. So you don't want to get up or anything like that at this point. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be crawling to the left, and as soon as I get to that gap, I'm going to shoot an arrow at the fence. And the object of doing that is to try to attract the dog and the dog handler, to get them to go investigate. They are not always in the same place. And so sometimes this arrow distraction works better than others. If they're in the wrong place, they're not going to get distracted. And it's not the end of the world. We can still get through it, but you have to be ready to run if you get spotted. We just keep crawling. And then when we get about here, we're going to...
Where the fuck is he? Anything? He's gotta be around here.
What was that?
When
Okay.
we find him, we should let the dogs have him.
So you can see, it looks like, nope, the dog did not get alerted, and I just got spotted.
Over here!
But that's okay, we're running out anyway, and we're just going out. And then we're gonna run straight through this next section,
Watch her out. Around here.
straight in here. And I'm gonna go into photo mode again to talk about what just happened, because there are 2 scenarios here. You'll notice I ran through this area and did not get spotted by anybody in this second area. There are two women who are coming in who are about to hop a fence over. We can't see them from here, but in the direction that I'm looking, there's a fence. They're going to hop over and come in that way. And then there's a woman and her dog who sort of come in around from this right side. Now, depending on where they spawn in, sometimes you get spotted, sometimes you don't. And that changes how the people in this area that I'm about to hop into behave. Because we didn't get spotted, we have some extra time. What's going to happen is a woman is going to hop onto this roof in front of us. She's got a rifle. And there's going to be a dog handler and dog over off to the right. And then there's going to be another guy who's in this yellow building here that we need to go into to exit. But because we weren't spotted, we have time. We can just hop in here, we can crawl up, and we can wait for the woman on the roof to turn her back before we go. Okay, might have seen her. That probably happened because I paused for the photo mode.
Nothing yet.
But you can see the woman there is on the roof, and we're gonna wait, and you can see that guy is going towards the exit. We're just gonna wait for her to turn. If you need a bottle, you can grab it, but otherwise, no, we're just gonna brick him. We're gonna grab another brick. We're gonna hop out, and that's all there is to that. So when we run out here, the woman is not gonna come out onto the roof. This guy's gonna be behind. Whoop. Nope, he's supposed to be behind us. Usually he is. I turned and threw the brick expecting him to be there in the way, which is where he usually is. He'll usually be to your right when you get alerted right there. Still in that house.
Dogs picked up something down the hill.
One other minor point about this, the position that you're seeing these two in is the position that you get if you got through Hillcrest Red Door in complete stealth. If you alerted people and things went loud, they'll be in a different position. As does if you're playing on per chapter and you die here, the restart is after you hop the fence and it is in a different position than what we just saw. Through. You can see the dog is over there.
Gotta be around here. When we find him, we should let the dogs have him.
Go, girl.
See, this time the dog is actually looking, so we should be able to get all the way out. Eventually they'll say, we don't see anything, and they will find your scent. She's just leaving, so I'm gonna wait so she doesn't see me. Now, the fact that we haven't been caught, we actually have the time to pick that up, and then we can go. And again, we just run out. Okay, we shouldn't be alerted. Yeah, I thought I saw something. It's not a hard alert.
No way, this is our guy.
If you hear there, you've been alerted.
Not alone. Last thing we fucking need.
We're just waiting for her to turn. We already have a brick, so that's fine. And we can just grab him. Now notice, having jumped out here, even though there's a guy there, he's no longer an issue to us. That barking you hear is the dog from that other encounter. It's not the dog from the fence. So you would be safe to heal here, do whatever you need to.
She's gone. Find her.
In the next area, you've got a couple of different possibilities here. You can use a molly, you can use a stun bomb. I like a stun bomb here. I think it's good. We're not going to kill these people. There's very little loot in the basement, so it's not worth your time to kill them. What we're going to do is we're going to jump in and we're going to aim the stun bomb to get at least the second and third person coming down the staircase. The first person will run down and sort of go off to the right and clear the way, so whether or not he's stunned doesn't really matter. We run in, hop over. Now as soon as we get through this door, we're going to crouch. We're going to aim this, and we're going to go. And so notice that knocked both of them down. We can go in. Her, we're just going to dodge through here and go straight out. And we're done. And again, this is another one, having jumped out here, those people back there are not going to get you. There's nobody else coming in. You can just take your time here, and you can hop out. Now the problem with that is Molly, like, if they are on fire, notice, I'll just point this out as a general mechanic. If they get splashed with the fire and are not going to ordinarily die, right, they can put it out. However, if you shoot them, that distracts them. You saw that particular with both the guy at the top there and the final guy. I shot them and he stopped putting out the fire and then he burned to death. So if you need to use a molly, if you don't have a stun bomb, you can absolutely do that. But one way or the other, you're going to want to incapacitate these folks long enough for you to run up the stairs. Now, obviously, if you do this, make sure you pick up another brick before you... Where's the brick? Should be a brick here. There it is. Before you go upstairs, because this woman is going to spawn in. I showed you before how to just run past her. You don't need to deal with her, but if you want, you can kill her. Notice at the moment I don't have a melee weapon because I just kind of ran through Hillcrest here. If you want a melee weapon for the next area, you might want to consider actually killing all of them. In particular, probably the most useful melee weapon to bring with you into the stalker area is this bat. Don't use it. We're not going to use it in the next area. We want to keep it for the stalker. So I'm going to take the bat now so I can show you how to use it if you want to kill all the stalkers in stalker offices. Right? In this next area, we want to let Jesse do a lot of the work for us. So we want to stay in stealth. Wait for Jesse to start moving after the guy here.
Yeah.
And then we can go. We can go for her. Now, we want to grab her and kill her so that her legs are going to be showing. So if you grab her early, you might need to push her a little bit forward so that her legs are showing. If you don't, these guys won't go this direction. We want them to go this side of the fence.
Zoe? Where the hell did you go?
And then we're just waiting. It's Zoe today. That name changes every time. Okay, Jesse's in position. So we're going to grab her and just wait until Jesse grabs the other one. Jesse's not always going to grab that guy that fast, but just wait for him. You've got some time. There's a full health kit here. You do not need to heal for this area, even if you've taken damage, because we're going to get a free heal right here.
Okay.
for the most part, in this truck ride, you don't actually have to kill anybody. So if your aim is crap, you're fine. Ellie might turn completely red. You'll see the red around the edge of the screen, but every time you get a new phase here, Ellie will get a complete heal. So don't worry about your health. If you wanted, you could just sit here and not do anything. I like to shoot at him, but if I miss, it really doesn't matter. Like, you can see we're red here. I'm just taking the shots. Doesn't matter. Now we have to kill him. You can shoot him or use a knife. It doesn't really matter.
Watch out! Get the tires!
Totally crap shooting there. I missed them all, but it doesn't matter. Now the same thing goes for these. You don't have to kill them, but you can if you want. I mean, shooting them is fun. You have infinite ammo here. Now, you do have to kill the driver. If you don't kill the driver, you will die.
Look out!
Now, the next one you have to kill is the runner that's about to grab us. You have to do this QTE. We don't have to kill any of these infected. We only have to kill that clicker. Now, you'll notice I took my time with that clicker and I lined up 2 headshots. That is the minimum number of shots that you can use to kill the clicker. And ideally you want to do that because what will happen with your ammunition, you have had full unlimited ammo for the entire truck ride until you get to that clicker. So the way it works is you reload your ammo, you have a full clip going to that clicker. However many shots you use to kill that clicker is deducted from your full clip. And then that's how many you get at the start of the rest of day 2 after you have done the Finding Strings flashback. So if you have the clip capacity upgrade at this point, where you have 10 rounds in your clip and you use only 2 rounds to kill the clicker, you will have 8 rounds when you start day 2.5. If you don't have that, then you'll have 4 rounds.